And we're back at 33 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. Central Time for this final segment of the Power Hour. Dave Krieger with you, and Sam Ronan joins us. And, of course, we talked earlier about Taylor Swift on the show. Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation about what Taylor Swift has done, the fact she's visited the dark side. There's back channel videos out there saying that she sacrificed a little boy and stabbed a little boy to death and drank his blood. I mean, there's all sorts of crap going around on social media. And, of course, 4chan, of course, has produced a whole bunch of nasty stuff. And they've tried to ban it on X, and it's still floating around. And it's gotten weird. But the bigger problem that everybody is kind of concerned about, especially the conservative movement, is having this meltdown about Taylor Swift being used in all of her sexuality to motivate her Swifties to vote for Biden. Sam Ronan joins us now. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. And, you know, conspiracies always abound, don't they? And yet, with all these conspiracy theories, we have a genuine list by the name of the Epstein flight logs that is still not public information, and the parts that have been unredacted has not resulted in any sort of prosecution. And yet, as you just mentioned, we're going to believe that Taylor Swift is sacrificing children and drinking their blood for eternal youth? Come on.
Yeah, but see, we've talked about adrenochrome and all sorts of other stuff on the show before. And, of course, that's, you know, again, I've yet to see a video of anybody drinking it. But here's the thing. You served in the U.S. Air Force. Thanks for your service. We appreciate that. You're magna summa cum laude in the National Latin exam. And foreign exchange trip to Germany. You enlisted in the Air Force in 2009. And by 2011, got your associate's degree. So now you started, after being honorably discharged, you founded Average Joe's Initiative.
Yes, sir.
What is that about?
So my whole purpose for enlisting in the Air Force was to serve my country. And in October of 2013, I experienced my first government shutdown, which I thought was the first government shutdown. Go figure, American government education. That being said, it was a wake-up call to me because I was active duty. I was working in the deployment office, and we had just sent people downrange. And we were still pretty active in the global war on terror at this time. So there were definitely casualties and there were definitely fatalities. So imagine you're overseas fighting for your country, wounded, bleeding, and dying, and you get a call from your commander. It's like, oh, by the way, you're not getting paid this month. So your family back home, they're not getting paid this month. So your wife, your children, what have you, is up in the air because a few politicians in Washington wanted to play games with your livelihood and your well-being. And that's when I realized that my service that I wanted to fulfill to my country could not be realized in the military, and I ended up in politics. All that to say, when I did get into politics, I realized, well, you can't just run once and then give up. I tried, right? So you got to do something. So I built the Average Joe's Initiative. What we did there was build the infrastructure and platform for first-time candidates. Basically, all of the tools and resources that the political parties should be providing and should be encouraging to citizens to utilize, but don't, we built. And for about 5 or 6 years until I ran again, I was managing that, getting people to participate. We had an app going. It was quite well. I think several people even ran for office across the country utilizing it. It was just difficult to maintain the funding, of course, of the server when you have low income or working for, you know, a living like I do.
Yeah, we get that. Now, how did you enter politics, and in what form did you enter politics when you did?
You introduced me as running for president in the Republican primary, which is ironic because my first entry into politics was running for state representative as a Democrat, then running for the DNC chair as a Democrat when I realized the party did not support you unless you were in a big blue city. And that was my big argument, that the Democrats, for whatever reason, decided to not embody their democratic ideals. They do not support rural Americans. They do not support first-time candidates. They do not throw the money where the money needs to go and invest in the places where it needs to be invested. There are plenty of Democrats in the Deep South. There are plenty of Democrats in very red states and counties and voting districts, but the party's like, oh, it's going to be difficult to win, so we're not going to invest in there. And then what do you expect? So that's why I ran for that. And of course, I didn't end up becoming the DNC chair. But that's one of the reasons why I felt committed and compelled to create the Average Joe's Initiative and build that app and that support system.
So the thing is, though, is that others have utilized this and gone on to serve in public office.
Yes, I believe there have been several people who did use this software while it was running. It isn't anymore, unfortunately. What it was is it basically took all of the districting data that is normally held back by a paywall from the DNC through their NGP van and made it public. And then whatever data you did through your phone banking or your canvassing, you got to keep yourself and you got to deal with however you wanted. We just hosted the app and the server that maintained it, but we never saw the data. We never controlled the data. Again, I don't know enough about programming to maintain that kind of software. So when it became apparent that I couldn't keep taking advantage of my friend who was doing this in his spare time, I was like, hey, it's all good. And it's fallen to the wayside. I'm working on getting it back now that I'm making a bit more money on my own. I'm trying to develop another server, trying to get that app up and running and getting it back out there because it was a very, very useful tool.
So you have a website, samronan.com. What do people see when they go there?
So they see a lot of policy, and I tried to make it as digestible and easy to read and exciting and shareable as possible. Not everything's sexy, though. Not everything's fun when it comes to politics. I am a huge nerd for high-speed rails, okay? I want to go on a choo-choo train from Nashua, New Hampshire, and end up in LA in the same day in 10 hours. And it's possible.
Wow.
There's bullet trains now that are capable of going 500-600 miles per hour on land, and it's fantastic. But people are like, what about the economy? And I'm like, well, there's that too. I'm just not as excited about that.
So, I mean, people are into technology, which I understand, and they want to make life cleaner and easier and more convenient, and I get all that. Now we enter Taylor Swift. What is this? Why are politicians enamored with her? I mean, on one side, you got conservatives having a meltdown. On the other side, everybody says, look at all the tens of thousands, if not millions of Swifties that will vote for Joe Biden. A lot of these Swifties are not of voting age.
Right. So
what's the rationale here, Sam?
So the rationale here is that Vivek Ramaswamy stopped running for president and he realized nobody knew who the hell he was before and now after his campaign. So he's trying to remain relevant. And then the same is true for DeSantis. Although he is a governor still until whenever his term is up, he's still largely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things other than Florida man. And those two realizing that their prominence at the national level has gone down incredibly quickly. They're grasping at straws. Now, Taylor Swift has been the punching bag of conservatives and liberals, as the case may be. In the early thousands, when she was suing teenagers for streaming her music, and we were dealing with MP3s and all this, that, and the other, she was a conservative darling and a Democratic, witch to be hunted. And now, because she is massively successful, let's not sugarcoat it. She is massively successful. She's also very philanthropic, right? So she is still a billionaire. Like let's be very clear here. She has 1 and 9 zeros net worth, and she has also donated $100 million. So 10% of that net worth she's already given away, and she's still a billionaire. Like I don't think people grasp that she is doing what a lot of billionaires claim to do, but never follow through on. And so now, because her politics also align with a lot of the social issues, and not to get into this one, but she has her views on the Israel-Palestine issue that do not align with the Republican narrative, and so now she's just being lambasted from the right. But it's kind of pointless because, like you said, half of her fan base are teenagers, right? The children, and to that end, if Taylor Swift somehow ends up hearing this, let me be very frank and clear. You could influence politics. You very well could. You have the resources, you have the means, you have the stardom. You get on television whenever you want. So you theoretically could, but the conspiracy that you're doing all of this nonsense to help Biden or Trump is kind of foolish. Secondly, if you were to endorse a candidate, endorsing Biden wouldn't necessarily help Biden, especially now. By the time election comes around, people have forgotten you endorsed him. And even if you endorse him at the 11th hour, like November 1st, October 31st, something like that, it'll get a little bit of buzz. But whoever was going to vote for Biden isn't going to vote for Biden because Taylor Swift said vote for Biden. They're going to vote for Biden because they don't want Trump or Nikki Haley, who seems to be rising in the ranks. And then the third thing, Miss Swift, if you happen to be listening, if you truly want to impact politics and dip your toe, start supporting the unknown candidate, the dark horse candidate. And I'm not saying that to be self-serving. Support RFK Jr., support Frankie, support, shucks, now I forgot his name, the one from the Green Party. But sure, support me too. If you give us your endorsement, that elevates people to a national spotlight that otherwise wouldn't have it. If you support a frontrunner, that's just putting a bucket of water in a stream that's already flowing. If you want to make an impact, you have to create one. So I'll say that's what I got to say on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of political scientists and people out there. I've studied poli-sci. I know you have, and so I mean, we're looking at this scenario the way it is, and then you got people like Liz Cheney, who is fallen in complete disfavor with most everybody out there, except for the university where she's teaching. It seems like when they all get downtrodden and beat up by politics, they go into like Hillary, go into a college professorship. Why is Liz Cheney thinking Taylor Swift is a national treasure? Here's the thing. All these people that have come out and stuck their toe in the water, so to speak, by taking sides in the Palestine-Israel issue, have all of a sudden gotten shunned and thrown by the wayside and ridiculed and mocked on social media. Now they've taken social media and turned it into more of a divisive weapon, and it really is not helping anybody. What's your thoughts?
Not. No, and you're absolutely right, and I'll just kind of piggyback on that. Taylor Swift being a national treasure, I mean, how many rags to riches stories are there in America, right? I mean, and then how many of those rags to riches stories are truly rags to riches? I mean, again, this is not bashing on Taylor Swift. This isn't bashing on Mark Zuckerberg. This isn't bashing on Bill Gates or Bezos or
Buffett.
Soros, Buffett, right?
All in, but
you know all those people, right? They're billionaires. They're massively successful. Other than Buffett and Gates, they're fairly young. They're millennials. They're my generation. Woo! But at the end of the day, like there were parents on boards. There were parents who were making $500,000 doing other things. Like the national treasure aspect that we should focus on isn't the rags to riches story. Is have they been innovative? Have they been impactful and beneficial to society? Have they been revolutionary? And here's the thing, I'm not the greatest fan of Jeff Bezos. I've worked at Amazon as a maintenance technician. I can tell you it's not great. However, he has revolutionized products and sales. He has changed online sales forever. It's like we're not going back to the cassette tape. I mean, vinyl's making a comeback, I guess, but like we're not giving up streaming anytime soon, right? Like he has changed the way society operates. Mark Zuckerberg kind of revolutionized and catapulted social media into the mainstream. Yes, we had MySpace. Yes, we had a few other things, but it wasn't until Facebook emerged that we started getting the titans of industry. And the same thing with Taylor Swift. Again, that transition from physical copy media to digital copy media and how artists can monetize it. Again, she was one of the first. And never mind Bill Gates, who literally invented the modern day era of computing. Like the military uses Microsoft, Europe uses Microsoft. Like I don't know of any country or industry that doesn't use Windows operating systems, right? It's the base of our phones, for crying out loud, unless you're Apple. But Steve Jobs was the guy I was trying to think of. But you get my point. Like these people have made significant impacts. What's Vivek done? What's DeSantis done? Arguably, what's Joe Biden done, other than keep a chair warm? What's Trump done, right? I mean, what have these great names done to truly impact society in a foreseeable future way? Nothing, right? They've either brandished their fists or whatever and beat their chest, but what lasting impact? Build back better? That's irrelevant. The wall? That's irrelevant. It's just they're going after Taylor Swift because it elevates their mediocrity, their less than and makes it better by reaching up to her coattails and her heights. And this is, again, this is not me, I guess, elevating Taylor Swift or exonerating her or whatever else. I'm just stating the facts for what she has accomplished in her life. This versus Trump and all the other candidates and these Republicans and Democratic wannabes.
Well, but see, Trump is a billionaire too, and Biden is a millionaire. Biden is not a billionaire. The other thing too is that now you have Travis Kelce in the mix, who rolls up his sleeves and show you his band-aided arms that got paid $20 million by Pfizer to sit there and advocate getting a jab, which a lot of people are dropping dead. That doesn't look too good for a PR stunt. Then you got the NFL, Roger Goodell. He can't be happier than to have Taylor Swift, because every time Travis Kelce catches a pass, all of a sudden they go up to the booth. And when they score a touchdown, her and Brittany Mahomes are going all bananas over each other. So, I mean, the NFL is loving it, but the fans, on the other hand, depending on where you are, don't like one bit of it. And so I have a hard time wondering, because of all the blowback that people are getting. 4chan came out with the smear campaign of taking artificial intelligence and putting her name with all sorts of dirty language and handprints all over her and throwing it all over social media. And people are looking at this thing in one of two ways, because I've talked to a lot of people about it and asked them, what's your take on this? And they said, well, one, it is possible that this was a sympathy type of deal. Oh, the poor dear, she's a victim. I don't think Taylor Swift ever, aside from the lyrics that she writes about all her past experiences, she made money off of playing the victim. And people apparently relate to that because misery loves company. She's gotten stardom because people love misery. Otherwise, they wouldn't be watching The View. So, it's just these crazy things that society is enamored with, which makes me wonder why Taylor Swift would even want to get involved. I mean, she's got a life. She has a personal life. She's got Travis. I don't know that this is just going to be a temporary fling, and when the Super Bowl is over and whoever may win, the Chiefs are now all of a sudden favored, and the Chiefs are getting all this press because she's dating Travis Kelce. But Travis Kelce, turned a lot of people off because he rolled up his sleeve. I mean, it's like they can't win, so why even play?
So that's the thing about politics, isn't it? Even if you are a billionaire, doesn't mean you're good at it. And at the end of the day, too, it's like, what do you want out of it? I want to serve my country. I want to make the country a better place for regular people like you and me, right? Every time the cost of gas goes up, the cost of insurance or rent or food goes up, you and I feel this, and your viewer, we all feel this suffering. Taylor Swift is never in her lifetime ever going to have to question whether or not she can eat or live or sleep somewhere. That's never going to happen for her. It might happen to Travis if he doesn't manage his funds well. We've seen a lot of athletes and even other starlets fall into poverty because of foolish mistakes. Obviously, Taylor Swift has turned herself into an empire. So why would she dabble in politics? And that really is the question. Why? I mean, honestly, if I were Taylor Swift, I would just continue making music that sells lots of money and then give philanthropy out as needed. Now, granted, if I had $1 billion, my philanthropy would look a little different. I would establish networks and infrastructure. But hey, that's what I would do if I had $1 billion. She's choosing to give it away for donations, which charity is one thing, but it's also a write-off. And once it's done, it's done. But if you create, I don't know, a nonprofit healthcare or nonprofit, I don't know, ISO, ISP, carrier service, anything literally that you could create as a nonprofit that you pay for as a service, and I don't know, now the citizen can write off on it. Crazy things, but why would Taylor Swift get involved? The question really comes down to, does she think that by being a decent person to the masses, that'll help her financially? If so, then what she's doing is fine. She's not endorsing anybody. She's not running for office. She's not doing any of that. She's just being a good person on paper. But if she's genuinely trying to make an impact, then you're right. She is going about it all wrong. She really needs to learn about geopolitics and like foreign policy and domestic policy and like the actual issues and how her $100 million of donations could have actually been put to better use by simply founding a national nonprofit healthcare service. You know what I'm saying? It's just little things that I think once you achieve a certain level of wealth and stardom that you don't recognize anymore that your impact is now different. And what you thought worked when you had, $50 that you were donating to, I don't know, Goodwill, that's not the same as donating $50 million, because that $50 million could be turned into a source that could benefit. And that's going into like the weeds a little bit, but
No,
I don't see it. I don't
get
see
what you're
her
saying.
getting involved in politics.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Sam, but here's the thing. Taylor Swift, kingmaker, she's not. And
Correct.
the thing is that everybody that has gotten involved one way or another, their career has been affected because of the political viewpoints that they've taken. I mean, Hollywood has already proven it. I would think that somebody with her capacity right now, she's relishing in the moment. Roger Goodell could not be happier. The fact that she's up in that above the broadcast booth, hugging Brittany Mahomes and celebrating a Chiefs victory. Up to that point, and I mean, after the Super Bowl is over, which is very soon, Taylor Swift is back on tour again. She's going to leave her Japan tour to come over here, and then she's going to go right back to doing what she does, and that's turning on all these teenagers with her antics on stage, because don't say that sex doesn't sell. She flaunts it, for crying out loud. Biden, I would think it would be a detriment because everybody looks at him as a hair sniffer. I mean, every time I just look at him putting his arm around her and sniffing her hair, and I'm like, oh my God, I knew it was going to happen. I would think that she would be smarter than that. If she's a smart businesswoman, like you say, she would have nothing to do with anybody's campaign.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm coming from, is the only way she could impact politics is by elevating somebody. And you're right, she still couldn't make that person a kingmaker, right? She couldn't just go up to somebody off the street and be like, hey, this is now your idol, this is your president, this is your congressman. She's not that capable. She just isn't. So it comes down to, Taylor, what are you doing? Focus on your niche. But if you want to donate money and if you want to do some philanthropy, reach out to me. I can help you set up nonprofit healthcare, nonprofit insurance. And you will make thousands, if not millions of people that much better off.
See, that's what we call making a difference. Sam Ronan, I appreciate it. SamRonan.com, folks. It's been an interesting segment here. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. In the meantime, folks, we're out of time for this segment of the Power Hour. We'll be back tomorrow for a Hump Day edition. In the meantime, God bless you and God bless the United States of America.